Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. Well, I hope you're all right, but obviously, as always, just trying to check in if you haven't already with how you are today, and then just letting that inform your session this morning. Reminder that it's always okay if I've got 10 minutes worth of class in the tank, and then you want to slip away. That's fine, and it's fine if you want to dip in and out during that 45-minute session, just listening to your body and where you're at. We'll start as we always do, just finding a nice comfortable seat, as comfortable as you can allow yourself to be. And if there's anything additional that helps you feel more comfortable in your chair, like extra back support or leaning back into your chair perhaps, then just sort of allow yourself to wriggle in and wriggle down. And just start that process of settling. If you feel like closing down your eyes is going to feel lovely for you now, maybe do that. Maybe not. See where you're at. And we'll just take a few moments just to land here together, just sort of starting to remind our brain and body where we are and what we're about to do. Before we even move or before we even kind of take our attention to our breath, what does it feel like just to stop and maybe close down your eyes, or maybe just slow down your morning just by taking that stop, pausing? Are you carrying anything today in your body or in your mind, or both, that you might be intending to ease the weight of a little bit, or even just kind of take off your for the next 40 minutes or so? When we come to practice yoga, it's a practice that just is able to kind of just take you as you are. So we can come on our good days, we can come on our bad days, we can come on days where we're in between. And there is no judgment here. There's no judgment from ourselves to ourselves about what that might look like. We're just going to very, very gently start to tag a little bit more awareness into our breathing. So just starting to say hi to your breath. And maybe notice where you feel your breath. I can feel it only here today. You know those days where it's just like stuck high up in the chest? That's where I'm at today. Some of us, it might be belly, it might be more that you feel it in the throat, maybe more in the ribs, maybe more in your back. There isn't a right way, there isn't a right answer, but just noticing. Now you can identify where you can feel your breath perhaps more predominantly. You go just one step further and notice the quality of your breath. Again, not with judgment, but is the breath today, is it smooth or is it ragged and broken? Kind of, spits and starts. Is it long? Is it short? Be faster, slower? So using that as a point of entry to just kind of turn that gaze inwards like we do as best we can. And then just for the next maybe minute or so, just see if you can draw out your breaths a little bit more. Make them a bit longer on the way in and on the way out if you can. You might be breathing through your nose. You might be breathing through your mouth if that's easier. You might be doing a little bit of both. Just really elongating the breath from start to finish on the in and from start to finish on the out. Just really slowing things down. Well done, everyone. Really, really nice. You can start to blink your eyes open if you need, if you want to. Or for as much of the session as you can and want to, you can keep them closed. You can keep your gaze elsewhere if you need. We're just going to start by bringing the palms upwards on the lap or the arms of your chair. Just relaxing through the shoulders, maybe trying to relax through your elbows. And then we're simply going to, well, not simply, even the subtle things are not subtle when we're kind of bringing that sense of awareness in. But we're going to breathe in and just bring the palms up towards the shoulders. And then exhale, just relax them back to the lap. Yeah, lovely. You could do this with both arms. You could do it with one arm. You could visualize the movement if that works for you. But trying to just sync breath with that bending of your elbows, the fingers coming towards the shoulders. You might be able just to keep that focus with a slightly longer breath. It's that slight element of control, which really helps our nervous system sort of get a can't think of a word, understand where we're trying to get to, basically. We want things to feel a bit calmer, right? Good. A couple more like that, just flowing through, hands to lap, hands to shoulders. The hands and the fingers are really quite soft as you do that. We don't have to have rigid, stiff, active hands. They can just be really soft, like you're sort of holding onto something gently in your palm. And then one more. And then as the hands come down to your lap, just let the palms come face down to sort of seal that, end that movement there. And keeping your hands on your shoulders, but just lifting up your shoulders. So sighing your shoulders, lifting them up on the breath in. Lifting them down, dropping them down on your exhale. And be gentle with this here. Try to avoid a real intense squeeze if you can. And try to have it more as a gentle lift. If you imagined I had sort of two bits of string at the points of both your shoulders, and I was just kind of gently pulling them upwards and then really slowly putting them back down again. So it's a softer rather than a real big muscular squeeze. Good. Couple more. Inhale, lifting them up. Exhale, settling them back down softly and gently. Let's do one more like that. Let it go. And empty that breath out fully and completely. All the way. Just relax. Beautiful. We're just going to bring one hand over the lap. So let's do right hand and bring it over to the left thigh or the left hip crease or anywhere along that thigh that feels good for you. As you've done that, you might feel like your spine is still very neutral and straight. You might feel that your spine is just slightly twisted a little bit. Mine kind of naturally just does a little twist when I bring that arm over. Doesn't really matter where you are, but I'd love for you just to notice whether that twist has or hasn't happened in your body. Beautiful. And then that right hand is just going to take a little slide down the outer edge of that left leg. And it doesn't matter where it slides to. But as it slides, there might be just a little lean forward of your upper body. So a hinge from your hips. So from the side, cross my arm over, and then I'm just inching forward and sliding that hand a little further in the direction of our knee. We're going to slide and return back to that upright seated position. So just really slowly. Good. So we're getting that sort of gentle waking up through some of the muscles in the back. And again, if we're feeling really stiff, really sore, really heavy, let's just use that as a reminder that we don't need to rush our body into these movements. We are in control, and we're in control of how and where we take that movement. Next time you slide slightly forward, hold it there, and then just see if your left arm wants to just open out a little bit. So you might take yours out to the side, you might take yours slightly back behind you a little bit, you might take it up towards the sky. Kind of just wonder where, if that arm wants to move, where feels more natural for it to explore. We might just kind of go side, up, back, or maybe you go like between those. Maybe there's just one that feels nice to take a couple of breaths. You might be kind of wriggling out through your shoulders, or rotating through wrists, or wriggling fingers as you do that. Just
Meg, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Like, I'm sitting forward and my right hand's on my
so we've
left knee.
Gone crossed over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your left arm so like I'm just going to do it a bit closer to you so you see. So you might like lift it up out to the sides almost. Some might take it slightly back, like almost like you're doing a bit more of a twist. Yeah, you got it. But also you can take it up as well if you want. So then you can just feel how you get different sensations. Taking it up might get a little bit more of a stretch through the side.
Okay, yeah.
Back is going to ask us to twist a little bit more, which may feel lovely today, may not feel lovely today.
Okay, sorry. I just sometimes, when you're looking at the screen, I feel like I'm like back to front, and I don't know. I get confused which way I'm going.
No, that's fine. I get confused with whether Zoom mirrors me or not.
Yeah.
Like, so what arm does this look like to you guys now?
You're right.
Cool. Okay. So this.
What does everyone else see? Because I'm dyslexic, so
that's your left arm. It's on our right.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Sorry.
That's though, because I sometimes say right, and then think I don't know. I think some people Zoom doesn't always mirror us the same as well. So it could be that you are all looking at different mirrored images of me. I'm so
sorry, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Don't be sorry. Right, let's have a little rest there on our left, right. I don't know. Let's rest whatever that arm was doing back, and bringing that crossed over arm just back to the other leg.
You'll be writing letters on your hands next week.
It's so funny. I was only talking to Leanne the other day about when I did training to teach aerobics and stuff. They made you learn how to mirror, so they'd make you try and remember almost. In my head, I had to learn that my left was my right, and we all tied like a little bell on our like left lace of our trainers, so that we knew that was. So we were trying to learn that was our right leg, and it was.
Oh gosh,
that's what you're doing.
Like it just makes you go. Oh, it's really hard. Okay. As we come back to the middle, before we take that to the other side, just keeping the hands on the thighs, and then let's just cat-cow a couple of times together in the middle. So as you breathe in, try not to stick out your bum. So try and to sort of control Let's have a look. Control that arching of the back. So we're not going whoop, bum back, ribs forward, but there's a lift through the heart and the spine is sort of gently moving. And as you breathe out, let's just tuck the chin slightly towards the chest. Again, try not to drop it all the way down. Try not to think about making the biggest curl you can, but just keep it subtle. Beautiful, everyone. And then just keep it going at your pace. Just catch that rhythm for a while. You might find here that there's certain kind of areas of that movement. So I'm always very, very stiff in the upper of my back. And that's always where I feel movement the most. But for all of us, we're quite different. All of our bodies are carrying different stuff, and we've had different weeks and different months. And so just noticing how it feels and trying to be really gentle. Fabulous. One more like that. You've got it. Really lovely. And then as you're settling somewhere where the spine is kind of neutral, just letting everything relax, somewhere in between that cow shape, let's bring our left hand over to our right leg. So you might be mirroring me, you might not be. We're taking the
hand over to the right leg.
You got it, Sophie, yeah.
Sorry, I'm having to say it out loud to myself now.
I was like, I'm just going to check that as long as you're all doing the opposite side that you just did, we're good, and you are. All right, so let's just, again, notice whether as you've taken that arm across, your spine has started to twist a little bit, because that might just be where it wants to go, or whether your chest is facing more forward. When you're ready, just turn to the side, slide that left hand, or whichever hand is over your other leg, just down the outside of the thigh a little bit. And as you do that, there'll be just maybe this hinge in the hips. You're just sort of like leaning forward slightly and then just bringing everything back up. It's almost like you're trying to reach for something on the outside your leg, down on the floor, but obviously not reaching towards the floor. And if you are able to reach to the floor, I would say bring it back a little bit, yeah? Good. So we start just to kind of open up these muscles in the back here, and maybe a bit down the backs of the legs too. And then we'll bring the body focus in as well. The next time you've hinged slightly forward, beautiful, you've got it. Let's just see if that right arm might want to start to move and maybe reach slightly back behind you. Maybe out the side. Or maybe taking it up towards the sky. Maybe you just go back and forth between those positions. I'm just going to let somebody back in. I think they got kicked out. Hey, Maddie. And as you're moving your shoulder, your arm, and just exploring, just trying to keep breathing. And when you do notice, if you notice that you're holding your breath at any point, that's all right. We all do it. But just try and bring that intention back to kind of, okay, being aware of my breath. Let's take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, release that arm. And then bring everything back to the middle. Uncross that hand. And coming back to that cat and cow at your pace. As you breathe in, gently tilt your pelvis back. Open through your chest just slightly. As you exhale, tucking your pelvis under a little bit. Tucking your chin in the direction of your chest. And taking a few rounds there. Beautiful. It doesn't matter if your breath is doing a different thing or a different pattern to mine. Don't worry about that. Fabulous. Let's make this the last one for now. And then again, just when you let that movement go, just settling somewhere neutral. You might actually just want to use the chair for support. You might want to sit back into it and just let everything flop for a bit. Yeah, yeah, nice. Maybe you let the arms dangle by your side if that feels nice, or even just give the legs like a little bit of a windscreen wipe, like knees slightly in and knees slightly out, just letting things be soft and wiggly. Lovely. And then the next thing we're going to do is a little bit more of a spinal twist, but we're going to just bring our hands to our chest or hands on the chest. You decide. And we're going to twist and try and keep our hands right here in the middle. And I'm going to just sort of exaggerate this next movement because often what will happen if we're doing a spinal twist is that our shoulders maybe, or the upper part of your back will almost want to twist first. The higher up the spine we go, naturally, all of us, we've got more opportunity to twist. We've got more mobility up the spine. What we want to try and do is almost keep the twist almost more proportionate. So we're not just twisting through the like upper or midsection of the spine, but the whole spine is twisting. But the shoulders aren't sort of trying to yank the spine a bit further around than the rest of it wants to go. Does that make sense? So if we bring that either to the body or hands together at the chest, what it sometimes will help us do is control that upper bit of our body when we twist. So by keeping the hands at the center of the chest and not letting them, so for instance, I'm going to exaggerate it here, my body wants to, as I twist, do this and my hands kind of go, ooh, my shoulders want to go further than the rest of my spine. By keeping them here, as we twist, we're asking the twist to come more from the whole of the spine rather than just that upper section. So hands at the center of the chest and then find a little gentle twist off to one side, back to the middle. Take as much time as you need in the middle before you gently just take it to the other side, just to see how that feels. Keeping those hands right in the middle of your chest if you can. Yeah, lovely. But already that feels quite different, and you don't necessarily have to try it, but you might feel as you twist that your hands really want to keep going and your shoulders want to keep going and your head and your neck wants to keep going. But by bringing things here and keeping it center, the spine's got a bit more control. It's working a little bit harder, but to control and to use more of the spine to twist, maybe. You might do like 2 each side, just sort of left and then center, right and then center. And yeah, resting sort of in between before you twist again, as long as you need. Good. And then just rest your hands, rest your wrists, let the hands relax and the arms relax. And then we're just going to add on a potentially additional movement in that twist if you want it. Take it. If you don't want it, you leave it. It's all good. You can just stay with those twists if they were feeling nice. I'll show you the first time and then we'll just explore it together. So we're going to twist. I'll twist off to one side just to show you. So if I've twisted off to the left, it might be that my left arm just reaches up and my gaze potentially follows those fingertips. And then my gaze follows my fingertips as they come back, down, hand to the chest, and then bringing the chest back to the center. With this. So you can add in that reach with through the arm if you want to, keeping hands down and arms down if that feels better for you. Maybe twisting the other way. You might stay there, you might take that right arm now up. Maybe follow your fingers if your neck is happy and safe to look towards your fingers. And follow your fingers back down, like kind of going really mindfully, like you're trying to keep track of where your hand is that whole time. And then draw the chest back to center. Amazing. And even if we'll just keep this going, and don't worry about how many we're doing, but just keeping it going for a couple of minutes, just nice and slow. Don't need to take your gaze all the way up towards the sky if you feel good for your head. Your gaze might just catch up with the fingers as they come back a bit closer. Gorgeous. When we let go of one hand, the other hand is still sitting at the center of our chest. And we're coming back to the middle. Good. And then the next time you come back through the middle, just let the hands relax. Again, wriggle your fingers, wriggle your wrists or circle through the wrists if that feels nice, especially if you've been in that position. Let your wrists gently bend in the opposite direction to that flexion. Drop them the other way. Good job. And maybe just a little wriggle of your fingers, or even just a fist and then a release. Squeeze the fist a little bit and then release. Beautiful. Lovely, everyone. Good. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, cool. I'm just checking the time. Always lose track of where I am. So potentially now, just separating the feet a little bit wider. Just walking the toes out a little bit, walking the feet out a bit. You might turn the toes out, as in like open the hips. Or you might just widen your feet and keep your toes facing the front. It's entirely up to you which position your hips and pelvis feels more comfy for you today. Hands resting on the lap, but fairly gently. And then just, maybe you close your eyes to do this, maybe not, but scan down the length of your spine if you're able to do that and feel comfortable. So if you started at the very top of your spine, taking your awareness down the length of your spine until you get to the very base of your spine. So kind of imagine that being where you're sort of plugged into your chair. Sometimes I call that like a plumb line. It's sort of, that's our sort of neutral, our baseline sort of position through the spine. But being really aware of how we're connecting to the chair, or potentially if we were sitting on the floor, or our bed or the sofa. And then try and let your hips get really heavy. So just sort of let your bum shift right to left a couple of times. Like you're rocking almost, kind of lifting up. Kerry said the other day, when were we? It was Tuesday. We were at our EDS in-person Pilates and yoga class, and we did something similar to this. And Kerry said, "Imagine that you're trying to let a fart out," and I couldn't do that without thinking about that. So you can all think about that too now, and then kind of settle back in your seat. And then I would love you just to make the tiniest circle that you can around that base point. So where you scanned down your spine and then you got to the base of your spine, can you draw with your upper body the sort of the smallest circle possible around that middle point? So you're rotating. Yeah, you've got it. Like you put the pin of a compass in a piece of paper and you're drawing around it. You've got it. And then just tap into sensation for your body here. How does this really small circle feel for you today? And then try and be led by what the answer is as to whether you stay here, whether you start to get the circle moving a little bit bigger, but very gradually. You're not going to start small and then be suddenly like hula hooping. Just try and really sort of trust your body a little bit to give you the feedback that you need to decide whether you're going to expand this or keep it small, whether you're going to keep it really slow or whether a slightly steadier pace feels good. It's amazing because we're all just kind of, this is the same movement but being expressed differently in, 10 times over. Good. And it might feel very different in our bodies when we start moving in the opposite direction. So you can do that whenever you feel ready. But again, potentially starting back at that very small circle. So you started at that, like the tiniest movement possible. You sort of challenge yourself to move, but without being able that movement to be sort of caught on camera or seen. How small can you make it? Oh, sorry everyone. Not sure what's happened to our recording, but I'm just gonna trying to flick it back on. Suddenly got disabled for some reason. Oh no, it says it is still recording. That's odd. Lovely. So try exploring the other direction, and again, if it feels like your body, which direction was I going in? This way. If it feels like your body is wanting a little bit more, start to grow it a little bit. Really nice. We're here for 3 more breaths. So maybe those breaths are a bit bigger, a bit deeper. Maybe you let the exhalations out with a bit of a sigh. And then we're coming back gently to that base position. Maybe you take that same little rock onto the left hip, onto the right hip, bum cheek maybe shifts a little up, and then the other, just so that your seat can sort of settle again, somewhere neutral. You might even sort of move the flesh of your bum cheek slightly out and away from underneath you. My favourite graceful move for getting comfier in your seat. And then just coming back to rest. Keeping those feet that little bit potentially wider apart, just for that last moment of movement as we potentially take the hands down the insides of the legs. So maybe both hands start at the top of the thighs and then just inching them forward, maybe down to the insides of our knees. Maybe a little further down to the inside edges of the lower leg, and you feel that the body will fold forward. Be careful not to tip so far forward in your chair that you feel unstable, because the weight will shift into the front of your pelvis. So move forward slowly rather than quickly, and then feeling like you're gonna tip or gonna fall or gonna be unstable. Take a breath in and a breath out, perhaps, as you're reaching down the inside of the legs. And then as you roll back up through your spine, just pull the tummy in a little bit towards your spine and use your hands to sort of press into the legs if you need that to help support you on the way back up. Really, really lovely. We're just going to do that two more times at your pace. So hands just slide sort of down the insides of the thighs. Any amount. I can't stress that enough. And taking a big breath in, a big breath out. And then again, as you slowly start to sit back upright, muscles of your tummy draw in towards the spine, and you use the hands if you need them on the legs, walking them back up. Last one, if you want it. If you're ready to rest and sit back in your chair and flop away. We'll join you in just a second. But maybe you're just taking one final fold here. A big inhale and a releasing breath out. And then slowly rising up. Well done, everyone. Lean your spine, your back, all the way back into the rest of your chair. If you've got a headrest, let the head come back. Try not to let the head fall back too much if you haven't got a headrest. I've very conveniently got the wall behind me, so sometimes I can just rest my head back. Or by all means, if you would like to take the next sort of couple of minutes of us sort of being a bit stiller and quieter and relaxing elsewhere, if you want to lay, if you want to move to a comfier chair, you can. Maybe closing down your eyes again, or just covering them up, or maybe just taking them away from the screen so that they can focus a bit more softly. We're going to bring our attention back to our breath just for these final minutes. You've got a couple of choices here. You can just breathe naturally. Or if the mind feels really busy today, and if it's very sort of scattered and, you know, when it sort of jumps into lots of places and it doesn't feel like we've got as much control over it, if you need to sort of try and focus the mind a bit more and feel less distracted, I just would love you to try in your head, as you breathe in, just saying to yourself the words, I am breathing in. And you can guess what's coming as you breathe out. Just say to yourself the words, I'm breathing out. And that might sound quite silly, but what it gives us is give the mind something to do.
That does work, actually.
Yeah. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be those words. Sometimes it could be like I'm inhaling calm, or I'm exhaling stress, or it can be anything at all. Or like we've done before, I think we've just done when we count them. It's just that you give your mind something to do, because our mind wants something to do.
Yeah.
Go from having a very, very busy mind, which I'm sure a lot of us do, I don't think I'm the only one, to
Yes.
then expecting it to sit there and do nothing at all. What an ask, that's huge.
Yes, that's a good point.
And we can sometimes feel like when we try and that doesn't work, we can sort of be like, oh God, I'm not very good at that, or I'm not very good at, you know, my mind's not good enough. It's nothing to do with that. It's just that it wants something to just gently to focus on. So it's quite a nice thing to try just when you're not even in classes, but perhaps just if you're like needing just like a minute of something when you're like day to day, just using those words or some different words just to tag a little bit of focus to your mind. It's a nice thing to try. And then just see if as you let that go, as you just let the breath be more natural, let it flow, see if your body wants to move a little bit, or you might at this point feel a bit sort of yawny or sighy. Often if we are relaxed a little bit more than we were at the start, yawning and sighing can often kind of be part of that process. And we'll finish the way that we always do. Just if you're wanting to bring something to your mind that you're grateful for in this moment, just now, just today. Imagine it being just sat with you or just sat in front of you, and just take a couple of deep breaths as though you were trying to sort of breathe in that feeling of gratitude, and it have a good chance of staying with you for a bit longer today as we part ways. And then whenever you're ready, but there's no rush, just take your time to maybe bring your eyes back and start to blink them open. Maybe take your gaze gently back towards the screen, but only when you're ready.